comes around, the talk around the town is what happened on the weekend in the Footy. Monday nights, we're talking Footy. Monday nights, we're talking Footy.
Yes, welcome to Talking Footy. Plenty to discuss after an interesting round two. The Carlton coach, Mick Malthouse, joins us live in the studio, as do two of the all-time greats of the game, the Essendon Premiership champion on 3 occasions, Tim Watson. Welcome to you, Watto.
G'day, Darcy. I was at the MCG yesterday. I think I saw probably the worst side going around for some time, and we've been saying that for a couple of years. But Roosy's been giving him a bit of a cuddle. I think it's about time he got the whip out and started cracking it there at Melbourne, because they were a miserable lot. We'll
delve into the Melbourne Footy Club in detail. The King Wayne Carey is here. Hello, Duck.
Yeah, g'day, Darcy. Tim. Looking forward to talking to Mick Malthouse about Brock McLean's body language when he got subbed off on the weekend. And I think the big story, though, is Sydney and where they're at, Darcy. And you were there on Saturday night. Do you think Johnny Longmire got out-coached?
Don't think he had a great night, the Horse, your old teammate, to be perfectly honest with you. And I look at their defence and what happened with Collingwood. They lost Nathan Brown with a shoulder injury, when the game was level at three-quarter time, and they allowed Nick Maxwell in his 200th game to be loose in defence. Now, sides will do that at times, but what they don't want to do is this. He had the most intercept marks of the game by a long stretch. And when Nathan Brown went out with his shoulder, they were left with two inexperienced defenders. We had 5 games between them, Langdon and Frost. And you thought, well, with Buddy Franklin, with Sam Reid, with even Mike Pike, this is a chance to actually push up, play one-on-one and roll the dice a bit. They didn't. Maxwell had free rein, and I just thought it wasn't a great night for the Sydney Swans coaching team.
So you think that in an instance like that, it's the coaching or just not the message getting through? Because, you know, in the last few years, I mean, Longmire's been one of the better coaches in the competition. They haven't often been out-coached. They've been able to adjust mid-term in games, but it seemed to me just watching it that what they were prepared to do is they wanted to try and move the ball as quickly as they could, and there was no patience about the way they played. Now, most sides in that instance, what they'll do is they'll just hold the ball in the midfield. They'll wait until they can even up the numbers. They'll draw the defence back out again, but they just kept doing it time and time again, and you just wonder whether... I mean, they would have been sitting in the coach's box thinking, OK, this is what we're doing wrong, let's rectify it, but the message just didn't seem to get through.
There is a reluctance to do it at Sydney. I mean, I think there was a final last year against Hawthorn and Hodge was able to do that also. So they don't like to... Well, they've let it go a couple of times now, which I think's been a mistake.
Bit of pressure on at Sydney, and John Longmire's had a dream run. He's won a premiership already. He was handed a great side, and I think does a brilliant job. But for the first time at news conferences, he's got journalists turning up that haven't been there before, and I think he's feeling the heat a bit, John Longmire.
When you're reading articles about alleged punch-ups and things like this with Ryan O'Keefe, I mean, that's not the sort of press that this club's used to.
Well, we can't control that. I mean, that was just wrong.
So is there no rift between Buddy and any of the other players?
No.
There's no disharmony. So why are people writing articles that there's disharmony, and that's what does it?
I've got no idea.
He's been ambushed there.
I think Horse is looking around going, who are these people?
What's going on here?
I'm used to just talking about the game and what's happened. But the first 2 weeks have been horrible. Losing to GWS is the biggest upset. May well be the biggest upset of the year as it unfolds. And they've been getting smashed in the second half, outscored 15 goals to 5 in the second half. So on field, it hasn't been great by any stretch of the imagination.
And when you got two well-paid players like Tippett, he's not out there at the moment, and Buddy's probably playing below their expectations, even though I thought he was a good contributor on Saturday night. But I guess you just wonder, don't you? Like, we start speculating about whether or not that's having an effect on the other players. And I know you've been in a club where, I guess, there is jealousies. I mean, people don't talk about these sorts of things, but when players come on big money and say they don't perform, then it does cause some form of a disruption within a footy club.
There's always spot fires. Not everyone gets along at a footy club, and when you've got guys that have been to the well, they've won premierships, and these guys, from what I understand, Tim, a few of them took pay cuts after their premiership so they could all stay together. Then all of a sudden you pay Tippett, you know, reportedly 800 grand, and Buddy $1 million plus each year. I mean, there would be guys that would be sitting around having lunch talking about this exact thing, and it's not great. I mean, seriously, look, it's not all about them not getting along. It's also about them not doing the things that they were very good at a couple of years ago, and that is playing both ways, and that's where they've really let themselves down.
One of their premiership heroes on ABC Radio Speak Out, Ty Canillian, he just raised even more doubt. Is there some dramas at Sydney at the moment?
so much has been going on off field for Sydney and what's been happening obviously with Buddy Franklin. You're wondering, is it taking its toll on the football players? And that's what's going to happen, and that's what's going to be reported, because the results are showing that yes, it is.
Yeah, well, John Longmire responded to that today, Tim. Before we get to your thoughts, let's have a listen to the Sydney coach today on the back of what Ty Kennelly had to say.
Leaders haven't expressed that to be an issue with me, and they're certainly looking at our own individual performances first and foremost, and then the team aspects from there on in, but that's not something that the leaders have expressed to me.
You know what changes all this, don't you?
Winning a game.
A win.
Yeah.
all of a sudden, the focus moves somewhere else. But they've got another tough game this week on the road against Adelaide.
Yeah. It's one of the other issues, Duck, that to move players on. It is round 2, and we're not trying to build something more than there is. But there's enough noise for us to have this discussion off the top, I think. The other thing you do when you get 2 players in on around $2 million, you've got to move good players on. Shane Mumford, wouldn't they love to have him in the side now? And suddenly Mike Pike's number 1 ruckman. I don't think that suits him at all. And 4 good players left the club last year, Duck, to make way for what's happened.
Lamb, Everett and White, as you can see there. And look, they're all players. They give them depth. I mean, Mumford's a first pick. Everett was improving. We saw him play quite a good game on Thursday night. So, look, there's no question that it's created a little bit of disharmony at the club, getting 2 big players in for a lot more money than what the other players are on. There's no question.
Last time they lost 2 games, I think 2006, they went on and made the grand final. So it's a long year, but I think there's a fair bit of noise, and even just the distraction. John Longmire's teeing up the press conferences and he's fending off a bit of heat for the first time.
And those 2 performances this year have been most un-Sydney-like. Like, we've all marvelled at how they've been able to hold it together for so long, and the disciplined way they play, the Sydney way they play. But in these performances this year, there hasn't been the evidence and the signs of that. So, I mean, they're one to watch, the Sydney Swans.
The other one too, when they did it with Tony Lockett and Barry Hall, they went to Sydney, they performed straight away. Tippett's been injured, he's hardly played, and Buddy hasn't got off to a good start. So it's new territory for them.
The other player we marvel at a lot is Scott Pendlebury, the Collingwood captain, and what I thought he was just absolutely unbelievable on the weekend. Only 3 possessions in the first quarter, and then he just willed his way into the game, and probably was the difference. It
was just great leadership, wasn't it? And you quite rightly stated, he started really slowly, and it was an odd match-up too, because Benny McGlynn went to him early, and he just seemed to have the ability just to take him out of the game, but then he really put his foot down in the second quarter, and he just drove this team on. And I've watched him really closely over the years, and his ability to work back, Duck, as a midfielder and then work forward again. There's very few players in the competition that I reckon work as hard as what he does when he's out there.
Well, Pendlebury was one that made the comment last year that they didn't play both ways. All of a sudden, he's one of the very best at it. But I mean, this is un-Sydney-like. I mean, look at the space that Pendlebury gets here, and I mean, that is just far too much. And we never saw that from Sydney in years gone by. All of a sudden, Collingwood's best player finding that much space is unforgivable.
They're probably still looking for that key. You can't replace Brett Kirk overnight, and a Lingy type bloke, but they don't appear to have that bloke at the moment that can actually do the job week in, week out and sit on somebody. And I think that's probably somebody that they're going to have to develop there.
Well, they can't buy one.
Well, you can't, but you're going to have to develop one of those.
No money left.
That's right, but you're going to have to develop one of those blokes they got there now and teach them to become that bloke. Because last year was O'Keefe doing those jobs, but I mean, he looks well below his best in the early part of the year too. Yeah,
he does. Didn't play round 1, and for a great player, it just seems as though the game has come to Ryan O'Keefe pretty quick. It used to be Kieran Jack, and now he goes and gets his own foot. In fact, he was tagged out of the game by McCaffrey and in fine style. Dane Swan, is there some dramas with him? He played most of the game as a forward, had less than 20 disposal, which has almost never happened in his entire career. This was round 1, and he absolutely grabbed. You can't read anything else into that apart from he's looked a bit sore, and he was a bit fumbly, Duck, as well. He didn't. It was unusual. We hadn't seen him play like this.
It is unusual, and he was a bit fumbly in round 1 as well, Darth. But I must say, my understanding, he had an illness. I'm not sure whether it was glandular fever or not, but he had a very interrupted pre-season and had periods where, the start of pre-season missed a lot of it, and then came back and trained, and even missed sessions throughout that with little lapses of this illness. So I don't know how serious that was, but it would certainly affect your fitness.
It would, and he's had both wrists operated on as well. So obviously he hasn't been able to handle the ball over the summer months like he would like, and he just looks a little bit rusty. But I mean, the good thing for him might be that the back half of the year might be the best part of the year for him, which would be a great thing for Collingwood too. And I mean, that was a gutsy performance at the weekend because they really had to dig deep and find a way to win. And, we'd all criticise them after round one because they hadn't been able to do that against Fremantle when the game was taken right up to them. But they did it really well on Saturday night.
Yeah, another drama for them is Nathan Brown, their number one fullback. Duck has popped his shoulder. We understand today that he's avoided surgery. You've been down this path a lot. What does it mean? Oh, look,
it means he'll probably have that strapped up for a few weeks at least, and then he'll come back and he'll strengthen it, Das, and play. If you play without the operation, that's basically what you do. I'm thinking probably 5 or 6 weeks. I actually did that. It was a long time ago when I had it. Probably technology's changed a little bit. Tim, he might get back in 3 or 4, but he'll still be a sore boy.
You got a tape deal out of it too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Was you being paid about $50,000 a week to run out there with
not quite. I started taping the other one as well, just for the sake of it.
The Demons, we need to talk about, boys, 93-point loss to the West Coast Eagles, and so much made of what Paul Roos was going to bring. I think he knew the task was going to be a challenge, but I think even his eyes were popping out of his head after what happened. And they've had a horrible record. I know you've had a look at it today.
Yeah, well, they've really struggled. I just looked back. I only went back to 2007. Their last real decent season was 2006. Since 2007, they won 35 games, just 35 games. So, on average, that's less than 5 games a season over that period of time. And they just have got monumental problems still with their list. Now, we know that Dawes is out. We know that Hogan's unavailable. And we know that Clark... It's indefinite, though, with him. So they've got 2 of their prize recruits, their big contracted players sitting in the sidelines at the moment. One of them may not come back for a long time. And most of their problems appear to be structural. Again, yesterday, if you look at the stats, I mean, they were good in the contested possession.
Well, they won the possession.
That's right. They had plenty of the ball. And even after quarter time, they sort of matched up OK around the clearances. But the players had no confidence whatsoever in going forward at any stage. There was no one presenting. There was no target for them to kick to. So they've got some real problems in the short term, but you just wonder about longer term too. Is the talent there that's going to be able to lift them from the bottom part of the competition?
Well, off the back of yesterday, you'd say no, but they just lacked all confidence to go forward, as you said. And look, after the start the Eagles got, they kicked the first 3 or 4 goals. Melbourne were able to actually hold the ball in their defensive, in the Eagles' defensive 50 for a good 10 minutes, and that's just by keeping possession. Yes, they couldn't kick a goal because they didn't have the talent there to do that, but they at least stopped the running of the Eagles. I got the feeling watching it, and I'm not being critical of Melbourne, at least we can understand what they're trying to do. They tried to keep possession, didn't have the skill to do that, but they were trying something, and I just think that right now, they can't play that style of game because they haven't the skill of a horse.
Yeah, well, Paul Roos was pretty candid after the game. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
Oh, look, some of the stuff today, and I suppose that's the habit you're talking about. Look, guys missing chest marks. Certainly, I haven't seen that before. So it's it's an eye opener for me as well as a new coach of the footy club. Some of the errors were just incredible.
Reminds me of an NFL coach once who was asked after a poor performance like that what he thought of the player's execution. You know what he said? No. I'm all for it.
He's changed his tone, hasn't he, Roosie? I think he knows there's a big challenge in front of him. Grant Thomas, former St Kilda coach, doesn't hold back Tomo, and he's sort of gone with a decent whack here. Who would have guessed Roos, the saviour, would divert attention and blame the players after a humiliating 93-point disaster, coaching 101? That's a bit of a backhander, isn't it?
It is a backhander, but... I mean, what else can Roosie say in that situation? Paul has obviously given them a plan to execute. They weren't able to do that. And I think what Roosie was talking about more than anything is just the skill errors. I mean, the drop chest marks, the missing of a target 15 metres away. We're talking about professional footballers here, and they weren't able to execute simple skills.
Roosie's got a solution. He's worked it out, and have a listen. I think he's going to have all his problems solved in one hit. Well, this is probably not going to help. This is West Coast getting goals scored on them quickly.
Well, the idea might be to get Nick Natanui playing for his team, but Nick he was unbelievable.
He didn't have a great game stats-wise.
Didn't you think? I thought he was good.
Because of that reason, Tim. I mean, apparently you get stats for those hits to advantage now. He's the best in the comp, and at the start of the game and throughout the game, he played as an on-baller, just as a follower. And, geez, he's dangerous. I mean, 6'22" and running around like a ferret.
Yeah. What he needs is a big power forward. And as I was about to say, I got so excited by this. I think he's found one, Paul Roos.
I don't know. I was talking to Wayne Carey. He was doing which station he's on the radio, and I ran him to Port Melbourne last week. So I might have another chat to him this week and see whether it's not too late to make a list.
Can you rule it out?
Sorry, guys. Right here, I've just got an announcement to make that... no, of course, what do you think, Das?
Say what you said in our meeting today.
Yeah. What?
You've got most of them covered still,
No.
if required.
No, well, they didn't kick the ball forward. I would have been standing up there getting a cold. I never got it in there, Tim.
You reckon the only bloke you haven't got covered is Travis Cloak at the moment? That's what you said.
Have you got some questions for our next guest, Mick Malthouse? We'd love to hear from you. We're live here, and our Twitter handle is @TalkingFooty7. Still to come, three-time premiership coach Mick Malthouse joins us live in the studio. We show you why two AFL stars should be embarrassed, and is Brent Harvey North Melbourne's most important player? All that and more on Talking Footy.
Monday nights, we're talking footy.
Welcome back to Talking Footy. The Carlton coach Mick Malthouse joins us live in the studio. 30 years ago to the day, Mick, you coached your first ever game of AFL football. Did you know that?
Someone told me today to be ready for it, and I said, "What do I have to be ready for?" So, I needed to be ready 30 years ago.
You won by 39 points. Simon Beasley kicked 11 goals, and you beat the Tigers 30 years ago today.
11 goals,
kicked 11, yeah.
I was just watching that tape there. You know, I've probably wrecked someone's career there because everyone's probably under the illusion that Timmy only played for Essendon, but we had him on our list at West Coast and just destroyed that whole myth of that.
True story. Okay.
True story.
I want to ask you quickly about Matthew Cruiser. Trained today. Is he going to be okay? Is there more to read into his foot injury?
He trained today. He trained on 2 days ago, whatever day that was. I get mixed up with days. We play every day of the week these days. And he will train Thursday. Now, if he trains Thursday and does all the things we want him to do, then he will come under massive selection. He'll put us in a position to select or not select him. Not on basis if he gets through. So it'll be more on his form.
Mick, on Matty Cruiser, is he a guy, you would have had an opinion of him before you came to the club, is he a guy that has surprised you, or you think he's still got a fair way to go?
It's a really good question. I was always told that he's a very quiet young bloke, and he's that. He is a fierce competitor, he's that. I think in today's football, he's a small ruckman. Because you just look around today, they're just big boys. They're 205, 206, 207. He'd be 200. What I've said to Matthew is this, that he's got to learn to play as a forward and ruck. And he's really trying to eat into that. He's really he's setting himself. He knows he may well be still the first ruck, but I don't think Robbie Warnock's a great forward pocket. So Robbie Warnock rucks, and it gives the capacity for Matthew to work the forward line, because I think there is a real role for him to play down there. He's a big, strong boy. He takes a good mark, massive competitor, kicks pretty well, but probably hasn't played there enough to say that I've learnt the art of playing forward. As you know, and you've rucked and forward, it's a totally different role than playing as a junior behind the ball, taking a few catches, looking really good. Now you've got someone on you who all he wants to do is to spoil you. So it's a great opportunity for him.
Hey, Mick, where's your team at the moment? Is it too early in the season for you to gauge whether or not you're a top 8 side or you're not a top 8 side? Where do you think you're at?
That's another very good question, Timmy. I'm not a soothsayer, so it's going to be hard to say where we're going to finish up.
Yeah.
But look, I get a bit concerned that people say, you know, the club's been in the finals 4 of the last 5 or 6 years. You know, and we all know on this table, you've got to finish top 4. It's going to be a massive task to win a grand final from anything but the top 4. I only coach for one reason, or several reasons, but one in particular, is to see that side come through and play finals football. It doesn't mean finishing 5th to 8th, right? So our goal has got to be the top 4. If you look at the ladder after 2 rounds, there's a few give-me's that are going to make the 8. The way they play, the personnel they've got, there is going to be a couple of those sides, few of those sides, perhaps still under pressure to hold it in the 8. we are out of the 8. So for us to make it, it diminishes every time you look at you go, OK, it's 12 to make the 8.
Yeah.
So we're now got to win 12 out of 20.
Yeah.
Not 12 out of 22, 12 out of 20.
So where you're at right now, say your team, have you got a feeling that you've got to go forward again?
No, I don't. I don't. I've never believed that in any football thing. I don't coach for 5 years. I coach for 5 minutes. You've just got to keep going every 5 minutes, then reassess and keep going. Our football side this year has been massively competitive. I knew the first game that we probably need to be a few in front at the three-quarter time. And we got great time into them. And it proved it over the weekend that they were the boys were another step closer to being a better side. We started very well against Port. We didn't start very well against Richmond. We gave a lead up and we got belted in the last quarter. So against Port. So somewhere along the line we will get it together, and I know we will. I've got great confidence in this group that they will be highly competitive. We changed it 25% this year. I know the boys won't mind me saying this if any of them watch it. It's got to change. It's simply the bottom denominator has to move up. So the only way to do that in today's football is that you have the capacity and have to do it by AFL rules, change the list by 3. I think that it'd be fair to say that we'll assess the list again at the end of the year, and we will go into what we believe that will give us a greater impetus to be better again. Now, where we finish, I don't know. It's just too hard to tell because football is such an unpredictable animal. No one would pick 9 the first round. I dare say you wouldn't have picked 9 the second round. So, but we're very optimistic that we will do well every game we play. And I think we have, but we've been beaten. So
Carlton players are all watching, Mick. We just had some tweets come through. Good. Whenever you speak, they're here right now listening, as we all are. If it takes more time, Mick, and as you say, you're not a soothsayer, but if it's a 5-year job and you're desperate for success, do you feel like within you, if it takes 5 years, you're prepared to be the coach for the long term?
I saw that somewhere today. Now, I've got to ask, why would you be asking me that?
Because
I'm 60.
No, because whether the passion's there and the desire is still to sort of say, I'll see this through and I've got this burning desire now again.
I can't coach unless I'm highly passionate about the cause. And I make no excuses about that through the week nor at match day. There's a couple of things that you have to get right, though. Coaches don't choose how long they're going to be at a place, right? Committees do. If you have great support through that, then you've got to weigh it up and keep. And I don't know whether I'll ever climb the mountain. I've said this before. There's a mountain out there that I haven't climbed. I don't know, and that's not based on premierships. It's based on your satisfaction that you've done everything you possibly can. There's no doubt going to come a time when I'm going to say, I've had enough. Now, I don't know when that's going to be, but I'll tell you what, I'll be telling the club first because I will never be a burden to a football club. I'll make. That was because once you're burdened to the football club, you lose the players. I don't want to lose players.
Were you disappointed in Brock McLean's body language when he got subbed out on the weekend?
I haven't seen anyone throw a party by getting the red Guernsey.
No, I totally agree, but he wasn't great body language, and he stayed on the bench, didn't come out at three-quarter time.
I spoke to him about that, and he had one reason that he hadn't been subbed before, and he was. And I think this is fair because I didn't even know the rule that because I don't talk. They're off. That once you put that on, I don't know if he laid it back on the ground, and he didn't ask anyone. That was his only. The only sin he made was not reaching across to Shane O'Sullivan saying, "Shane, do I go on the ground?" We would have liked him as a leader on the ground. We've taken issue with it. I'm not going to hide it, and he come up with the reasoning, and we've got to accept that reasoning.
Have you punished him?
How do you punish him?
I'm not sure. Have you punished him though?
No, I think by us being pretty disappointed in the outcome was enough disappointment.
Okay, what about Bryce Gibbs? I'm not talking so much about Bryce Gibbs' form, but I'm talking now about whether or not he's going to stay as a Carlton player. Yeah. Do you have that discussion with him?
I have had that discussion with him, and
how'd it go?
I'm pretty optimistic, but I'm also a realist. I get bitterly disappointed on players going. Make no mistake.
Because I think every coach does.
Well, I just think that I've coached for a long time, and I could say players I've moved on. I never say get rid of. I think that's just an inappropriate word. Moved on. Some have gone on and done very well for themselves in terms of premiership or whatever the case may be, and good luck. Secondly, is losing Eddie Betts last year was the second time I've lost a player that I thought I really wanted him to stay, and he left. So I'd be bitterly disappointed if I can't. Is a reflection. So it's a reflection of all of us in many respects. That's why I feel it. But really, it's a reflection of the system that I spoke to the league about. That the two-tiered system will come in. And I'd like to know why players want to leave.
The longer it goes, though, is it more the effect that it has on the player? Well, we've seen this in the past.
I've never seen any player that hasn't made a decision play good football.
Yeah.
And we spoke about Sydney before, Mick, and Buddy going up there, Tippett and these guys, and what it can create. You obviously brought Thomas over, and on not bad money. Gibbs is now deciding whether to stay or go, and I'm assuming it'll come down to money. Do you think that can disrupt the playing list?
I'm not 100% sure on the money. I don't really touch that, Doug. But I can understand that. They're not going to go across the tuppence, are they? So does it upset the list? I reckon if you don't play good football, it would upset the list. I reckon if you seem to let this affect you, and I reckon last year it was really getting hold of Eddie, and I think the players realised that it was getting hold of him, and they were backing him up. They were trying to get him to play good football because at the end of the day, he's still contracted at the end of the year. You want value for that year. I don't dismiss a player because he's says, "Oh look, I'm going to go at the end of the year." We wouldn't have half the rugby league going out there. They're all decided they're going to leave at some stage. But our game seems a bit different. They seem to hold it in and bottle it in. Then they let you know at the end of the year, which is pretty obvious.
Hey Mick, just quickly, we're going to get to the NAB Rising Star, which very shortly. But what about the situation now where players, and Bryce has said this, I want Carlton to present to me as to why they should keep them. It's a new generation, isn't it? It was always, for me, the respect that if the club wanted you, well and good. Do you find that language disturbing, or are you okay with it?
No, it wasn't Bryce. Let's get that right. I think it was his manager, and I'm not over into that side of things. That's up to the administration. I don't know what we need to really present. Looking at it as an outsider in, I know you should say like should know, but we have this particular year, given where we finished in the ladder, we've recruited 3 players from other clubs, and we've seen 2 in action. Sam Docherty will be back soon, and we've recruited 3 young players, and our international player, and also our rookies. So we've done pretty well, I reckon, with this year. If you want to look at a template of where the club's going, have a look at this year what it recruited and see where that's going to take us. I mean, Everett was fantastic on the weekend. Thomas wasn't far behind him, and as I say, I think we're getting better. And
Dylan Buckley was very good too. And has been rewarded.
Fantastic.
By getting the Rising Star nomination for the week.
First one since 2010.
Yeah. Did he surprise you the way he performed on Thursday night?
No,
because he just gave you an enormous dash across.
Yeah, he did. No, he was too anxious the last practice match.
Yeah.
And we had what we believe the best match-up for them, so he sort of missed out. But on reflection, I mean, he could have played his first game last week. Oh, he's played one game last year. But I'm not surprised the way he handles himself, because he's there early. He's out there at the end. He practices to get better, loves the club, loves his mates, and just listens intently. Yeah. And you just know that when people like that, you want to see them get rewards, and that's fantastic for our football club and him.
Yep, let's have a listen to Dylan Buckley, who was rewarded today with a round 2 NAB AFL Rising Star.
I was pretty wrapped. Just got the call up then. I was just on the track, and Shane just came up to me and informed me of the news. So yeah, I was pretty roped. Mick's been really good. He's given me a lot of opportunity and probably installed a lot of faith in me. So hopefully I can just repay that faith and then play some more senior footy.
Got plenty of tweets coming through, Mick, and a lot of them, believe it or not, a lot of them are from the media.
Well.
This one is: do you sometimes regret your treatment of the media?
Never.
Never?
Not 1 ounce. Do they regret how they treat me from time to time?
Well, that's the...
Doug, you're not a media person either. You're too good to be a media. So are you.
No, we're all in the media.
No, you're not.
You were in the media for a couple of years too. You're forgetting that,
aren't you? Don't give me 2 years when I only had 1.
Okay, well, can I ask you a question about this? Because I've had a lot of people come up to me in the last 48 hours and they say they're worried about you, Mick. How emotional you're getting in the box at the moment. Are you worried about how emotional you're getting in the box at the moment? Or do you believe that that's best for you to actually just allow yourself to go like that?
See, you know how the league get all concerned about how many people on the ground? I get a little bit concerned at how many times they have to show the camera there. Why don't they do it? I think is Dean Laidley part of this one? Because Dean wore the bottle on the back of the shoulder there at one stage. You know what? If you don't coach with passion, you've got to coach the way you get the best out of yourself and your team. This is not about me. This is about the team.
Can we put a heart rate monitor on you one week soon?
You can do that anytime you like.
Okay.
I had one on the grand final in 1994, and it only tipped the top scale when one of our trainers ran through the middle and gave away 50 people. That's fact. That was as high as it got. Why would I be angry over that, Tim? Really?
Has anyone eaten a sandwich in your presence lately, Mick? We're all a bit nervous to...
No one, he knows he made a massive clue. I won't say where he come from, but it's pretty... no, I won't say where he come from.
Mick, you've always been great with your time and appreciate you joining us on Talking Footy. Good luck for the rest of the year.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Coach of the Carlton Football Club, Mick Moldhouse. After the break, we'll tell you why 2 stars should be embarrassed and has Daniel Wells run dry. You're watching Talking Footy.
We're talking footy.
Yeah, we've got a rocket system in there. It was just all red.
What do you reckon?
They've got a nice shiny cup and we haven't got much.
When I spoke to him, he threatened me with physical violence if I subbed him off.
In your left leg, or when he's broken the leg that he broke, he gets a bit of nervy stuff going down his leg and shoots down his leg.
Maybe we spend a lot of petrol tickets chasing that bad start.
Going to the footy and watching games, I'm seeing a lot of people walking when they shouldn't be walking.
Forcing the ball when we should be going slow, we're going slow, we should be going fast.
Is that a comment, statement, or what you're asking me?
They're walking because they can't get enough oxygen in to run.
I'm going for a beer, you bloke. See you later.
Always entertaining the coaches. Mick didn't need a lot of time to think about whether he wanted to apologise to the media. No, move on straight away. A couple of staging incidents as well. What did you think? Jared Waite, one that he won't be all that happy with, and Jordan Lewis today has come out and said, I'm a little bit embarrassed about my one as well. It's not something you see too often, but do we need to stamp this out a little more strongly?
Well, I think the right approach is exactly what they've done with the MRP, and they've given Jared Waite a please explain and a reprimand, and Jordan Lewis was a little bit lucky, and he spoke about that himself today. Look, I reckon the best thing to do, it happened with Angus Monfries, and that is, it's like to name and shame.
You do this.
That's all you do. You just highlight it, and blokes are embarrassed about it. Yeah. The last thing any of these players want to see is themselves highlighted on a program like this.
Did you stage?
No, you're one of the great stages of all the time. In fact, the only one better than us spoke.
Let's not get personal here. North Melbourne, we need to discuss you too. Boomer Harvey wound the clock back. We didn't really, because he's played this way for a long period of time. What I knew particularly wanted to highlight, it was a difference in the game.
He was unbelievable, and he got so much space. And with his longevity, Duck, I just wonder, is he sort of moving up into that sort of territory of maybe being one of the greatest shin boners of all time?
This is what he does, and he does well. And I guess, and Brad Scott said if we're going to have a go at Boomer, go through him. So I won't do that, but I'll say now, if there's a small criticism on Boomer, it's in really big games. Similar to that of last week, big game, was a little bit quiet, but bounced back well. I mean, Boomer does that better than anyone.
Yeah.
And the way he has not lost any speed, so on the back of that, he can play like that for another 10 years.
10 more years.
No, well,
but the thing is, he's a guy who should be in the twilight of his career, though. And when you're playing North Melbourne, you're looking at, say, Wells, and you're looking at Harvey, and you're saying, we've got to make sure we've got somebody on these two blokes for the entire
Look at a Swallow and look at a Zeeble. They won't play 300 games.
No, they won't.
Because of the way they play. The way Boomer plays, geez, he can play for another 100.
You mentioned Daniel Wells, who's had a pretty quiet start to the year. Is there some concern?
He has, and he's been well held in the first round. This is at the weekend against Wallace, and he is well held by Wallace. In the first round, he's well held by Heath Hocking, and he just didn't have an influence on the game. He's their best and fairest of last year, Duck. I think he's their most destructive player, and I thought that one of the great things for him was the recruitment of Del Santo, because I thought it was going to be that sides were going to have to share their tag between, say, Boomer Harvey, Wells and also Del Santo, but it hasn't worked out that way for him in the first two rounds. His numbers have been really low.
That's right. Well, they've gone to Wells. They're putting all their attention. They realise how important he is. But once again, it goes to show you, if you let Boomer off the leash, he will damage you.
That's what he did in 30 minutes on Heath Hocking. Not a lot of the footy for Daniel Wells. Mitch Wallace played on him for 75 minutes and kept him to 6 possessions. So he's struggling to find the footy a bit at the moment.
I wonder, when a guy who is that good gets numbers that are so low, you start to wonder whether or not they're 100% fit.
Well, the highlight of the round for me, Doug, you spent a bit of time in South Australia, ended up playing at the Crows, was the Adelaide Oval relaunch with Port Adelaide, the biggest home ground. This is the biggest thing that's happened in this city since the Beatles were there in about 1960. It's transformed the whole play. That's a great shot, isn't it? Apparently the stadium is spectacular. I can't wait to get over and see it. And it was a big day for Port Adelaide.
It sure was, and there's been a lot of talk about the split first round, and also the fact that the crowds are a little bit down over the weekend just gone. But that was the highlight for me as well, Das. I mean, it was a beautiful day in Adelaide, and boy, did Port Adelaide play good footy.
This is my favourite coach's grab for the year. What I have listened to Ken Hinkley, who is coaching the house down at the moment.
Well, 100% honest, we're just a great running team. Teams know that. Teams know they're going to play against a hard-running Port Adelaide. We're going to be a hard-running team, and we're going to make it a tough day. If you come and play against Port Adelaide, you're going to run, and you're going to have to run really hard for 4 quarters.
Well, the important thing about that statement is his players believe it, and I think now the opposition believe it. I think they go into last quarters or the end of the third quarter and they know or think they can outrun anyone. And I think now it's in the opposition's minds that this club is going to keep coming. I mean, it was 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. The Adelaide Crows were 3 points up. By three-quarter time, it was 30 points Port Adelaide.
Yep, they spread better than warm honey, does.
That was after round 1, and they were even better in round 2. Warm honey. After the break, stick around because the Giants captain Phil Davis tells us about the season's worst injury and which docker could prove the difference in the grand final replay. You are watching Talking Footy.
We're talking footy. We're talking footy.
Yes, welcome back to Talking Footy. Enjoyable to catch up with Mick Moldhouse earlier before, wasn't he? He's in good form. He's a nice guy.
Were you a bit scared?
A little bit before the outbreak when he said to me, "You've been prodding me occasionally." I thought, hang on a minute, I might be in the gun here a little bit. The most serious injury so far of 2014, very innocuous one it was to Phil Davis, the co-captain of the GWS Giants. Our man Tom Brown had an exclusive chat with the man and he told us exactly how serious it was.
Yeah, much better. I think I've really turned the corner in the last sort of 3 to 4 days. The first surgery went really well, however, within about 12 hours I'd crashed and I was bleeding again, and got to a point where one doctor even said I was going to definitely lose my kidney while the others were saying it was 50-50. Had the surgery and thankfully I didn't lose the kidney. The specialist said it was one of the worst he's ever seen, worse than a car crash, so that's pretty scary. You get hit that gently, but must have been in the right spot, the right angle at the right time, and did a fair bit of damage. I'd like to think I'll be back this year, however, I won't be putting any pressure on my body if it's not ready.
Yeah, wish him all the best, Phil Davis. It was innocuous, wasn't it? And you can't believe he's done that much damage, and we mightn't see him again for the rest of the year.
Well, Dus, we were talking about this before, about you'd probably see an incident like that maybe 20 times a quarter. That was absolutely nothing in it.
There it is.
And the fact that it became such a serious injury. But, look, the most important thing now is that he looks after his health. I mean, great if he can play footy again at the highest level again, but the most important thing is that he gets himself well again.
Yep. Looking forward to the grand final rematch on Friday night. Duck's going to be fantastic. Are you leaning one way or the other early?
Oh, I think Mitchell, Hodge and a few others out of that grand final team. I think Freo are flying at the moment. Defensively, they're better than what they are last year. I know it's only 2 games in, but I think they'll be hard to beat.
Well, they're going to have to do it without a couple of their star players too. One in particular, Nat Fyfe, he was given a couple of weeks by the match review panel today. Also, Zach Dawson has been given a week.
That's a big loss.
It is a big loss. Let's
have a look at Nat Fyfe. You like your chances on Big Zach, don't you? A couple of weeks for this.
You're naughty.
Is he unlucky? Is he a bit unlucky for that? It's a head clash. I hadn't seen that before just then. 2 weeks suspension for Nat Fyfe. You've lost it, haven't you?
Still getting over his reaction.
It's just going right off at the moment. Our mate, they've got to contend with Aaron Sandilands as well. He nearly broke the world record of hit-outs on the weekend. He went to 75 ruck contests. He won close to 60. And 20 plus of those were hit-outs to advantage. So he's absolutely dominating at the moment.
That's got to be a world record in how many stoppages he got to. I mean, that's incredible. But we know that he's had a great pre-season. If he plays a full year, I mean, they're strengthened straight away. Let's not forget, him and Pavlich missed a lot of last year. They're both up and going. And he's terrific to watch when he's doing that.
What a difference it makes to the ground level players when they can be on the fly like they are, because of the confidence they know that their ruckman's actually going to win the tap and direct it their way.
Probably only Cox, Natanui and him that really give an advantage to their on-ballers.
You're the social media expert on the panel here, Duck.
Really
Get involved in Twitter at Talking Footy 7 if you want to join in the conversation. We love to hear from you. So too Dustin Martin, and he posted this photo on Instagram with St Kilda's Sam Fisher after looks like the boys have had a decent night out. Is that risky, Watto? Is that the behaviour?
Why are you asking me if it's
well,
risky?
I don't know. You're the most senior member of the panel.
I just found out today there is a thing called Instagram.
What we didn't show were the comments underneath it and what you leave yourself open to. Some of us, we couldn't put to air the comments below it from people. Now, that we're not suggesting there's anything wrong. Everyone's allowed to have a night out, and that's fine. But does it open you up, Duck, a bit to rumour and innuendo if you're out having a big night and Sam Fisher's not playing at the moment? Does it cause you to stress that you don't need?
Well, it does, but look, I mean, the comments that people put under a photo like that, I mean, look, that could have been a night out for dinner, had some pasta and thought they'd post it. I mean, it's all about how many followers you have, and I'm sure that's why they post the photos.
Just out for a bit of pasta, says Duck. Is it quite nice?
I'm not. I don't know.
He doesn't know. Hey, that might come up next because after the break, no one is safe. This is the best produced segment in television. It's called Say That Again. Tim Watson's driving it, and we're looking forward to it. Before that, though, we have got footy covered this Friday night on Channel 7.
For Alistair Clarkson, it set up an impressive coaching record. 9 seasons, 6 final series, 2 flags.
They've done it. The best team all year.
For Ross Lyon, it was the one that got away. His 3rd grand final loss. Fremantle will be desperate to make amends. Friday night football, the grand final replay, and you'll see it live and free on 7.
We're talking footy.
Yes, we're talking footy. We're talking a lot about Melbourne earlier in the show, and Paul Roos has just on Fox Footy had this to say about the 93-point loss to West Coast on the weekend.
So certainly, I mean, you analyse your own performance. You know, my performance was deplorable. You know, as a coach.
Why was it deplorable?
Well, you lose by 93 points. You know, I'm the person that's directing that group, so you can't be pleased with your own performance.
Not a happy camper, Paul Roos. Now, you're ready to roll, right? I know you've been looking forward to this all week.
Well, it's time now for what is fast becoming everybody's favourite segment on this program. It's time for Say That Again.
Say that again.
Now, we know the English language is fluid. This is BT on Saturday night during the Collingwood-Sydney game.
They love it through the hands of Jetta, don't they? It gives them the speed and the dynamism, if there's such a word.
Say that again.
There's no such word, but it was very close, BT. Bomber Thompson, I think he's fast becoming the most watchable coach in the AFL. This is a little bit of his best work on Friday night.
Ankle. What is it? Ankle, sore ankle. Ankle, sore.
Say that again.
I'm enjoying you more than them.
This is so good.
Brad Scott, we all love coaches that defend their players. This is Scotty. After a win, he didn't look that happy after the win, but here he is defending Boomer Harvey.
And while I'm coaching this footy club, if anyone wants to come after Brent Harvey, they come through me.
Say that again.
Gary Lyon, who's one of our favourites in the media out there, one of the great performers, is on a little program today. I think it's for the AFL, this program, isn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
You know, I think he's up to pussy's bow as far as players missing goals are concerned. This is what he had to say today.
Set shot goal kicking is at an all-time low, and it is a disgrace and a blight on this competition. When you look at players missing these absolute sodas, they are failing in their duty as footballers. Dock their pay, I say.
Say that again.
Dock their pay, or put them in stocks and whip them. But he can say that because he's never missed a goal in his life, Gary.
Never missed one.
Oh, that's a bit harsh.
I don't know how you found this, Doug.
He's about 60 metres out. He's kicking those from 45, 50.
He should have got that one, though.
That's not.
Have a look at that. He's missed that. Oh, damn it. Look at him. Oh, he should have got that one. There's no wind at that end of the ground of the MCG.
And I don't know great pleasure in this, Watto, but I've got one to finish on, and that is the most controversial thing that has aired on this show. It was back in round 1 when Wayne Carey said this.
I'm sick of people asking me whether I've had a hair restoration. I haven't.
You haven't?
It's natural.
Say that again.
You say that again, Wayne. We've had plenty of tweets coming through, and they are sending photos. They want to compare. This is a very early mullet style, and then this was a couple of years ago where there was not a lot happening up top, and now you've got a bit back. So I don't understand that.
I hope that someone out there is watching. It's called Prosca.
What?
It's called Prosca.
Is it legal?
And of course it's illegal. You get a prescription from your doctor. It's a tablet. And you take one a day, or a part of the tablet each day, and it actually stops your hair falling out and actually helps it fluff up a little bit, does. If I put my head down like that, you can probably see, so I'll keep it up. But I haven't got a possum on my head.
Got to the bottom of that. Lots of tweets coming through. I think we sorted that out. What does Khan Tige say? Mick really believes Brock didn't know the rules. What next? The dog ate my homework. Poor excuse, says Khan Tige. At Talking Footy is our Twitter handle. Jay Landy says, gee, footy press conferences will get boring when Mick Woldhouse retires. And I agree with that. He provides plenty of colour. And Louise, what's up with the Ducks eyebrows?
I'm getting cane. What have I? Oh,
he's one of the most manicured men in football.
The girl should just stop doing such a great job with my makeup.
You haven't had an eyebrow transplant.
Good night. That's all we've got time for. See you next Monday. We'll be back talking footy.